Good morning, everyone, and you're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm back to talk to you today about a few things that are going on in the news today and around the world. Right here, we're experiencing some problems with regard to the truckers threatening to not deliver anything to New York as a result of the Donald Trump award of $355 million based on a judge's opinion, which we knew that Letitia James and this judge were going to do this from the very beginning, regardless of anybody's thoughts on anything. And it's a precedent-setting settlement that they came up with that is really, really dangerous for anyone considering having a business in New York, because if it can happen to him, it can happen to any of us at this particular juncture. So even Mr. Wonderful, from the Shark Tank has made an announcement yesterday that he's just amazed at anything that could happen in this fashion with real estate investments in New York, doing this all of the time, and no victim here. Everything was paid back. He is recommending that no one invest in a business in New York right now. That, coupled with the fact that the truckers are going to get together and not deliver goods to New York, is going to hurt a lot of people. But obviously, the people in charge, or the politicians in charge of New York City, really don't care. It's just Trump derangement syndrome that is being driven by Letitia James, and she's got this judge who grandstanded to get his 15 minutes of FaceTime on your local media news and national news. So he got what he wanted and then came out with this ridiculous amount as a fine to Mr. Trump. And people are upset about this and should be. But when you elect people to these offices based on diversity hiring, this is what you're going to get. You couldn't get a fair trial as a Republican in New York if you tried, because it is a bastion of Democratic people who will do anything to stop someone that they want to cancel. And that's going to continue on as long as we let it. And we, the people, are the people with the voice that can maybe make a change somewhere down the road to get this thing straightened out. But I don't know that one election is going to solve anything in any of these blue states, because they're going to continue to remain blue as long as possible. And if we take a look around the country at these sanctuary cities in these blue states, such as New York, such as Chicago, such as L.A. and San Francisco, and several other of the blue states that just do not understand that we are facing serious problems in this country with both immigration and bank situations that are precarious right now, with regard to people talking about a collapse of the banking systems. So we need to be very, very vigilant in watching our own finances and what's going on with these banks and what's going on with election interference, which is plainly what's going on with these court systems with these blue states. Everyone that has charges, whether it's civil charges or charges of misappropriation of documentation, which we know there's two schools of thought on that now, because if you're Joe Biden, you get a pass because you're a senile old man. But then why is he still sitting in the Oval Office if that's true? where Donald Trump, on the other hand, they go in and raid Mar-a-Lago and come out with things that are of no consequence. However, he's on trial for it. So that's a double standard that we are witnessing for the first time in this country's history, or as long as I've been alive, that this is happening. But we know that these things do take place behind the curtain that we don't get to see behind. And hopefully somebody can get this straightened out. I have a very, very, very good fear that they'll get rid of Trump one way or another, and Joe Biden is not going to be the guy running come August. That's fairly evident based on his own behavior and answer to the problems that were presented by the Hur investigation, which makes no sense. Now, you ask the questions of this man and he gets angry. He's forgetful. We know this. We see this on a daily basis. And no matter what Karine Jean-Pierre comes out and wants to tell you about how sharp and how hard a worker this guy is an out-and-out lie. Everyone inside the White House that's telling you that this guy is just full of questions and right on top of everything should indicate to you that you're being lied to, because you can see for yourself every time he steps in front of a microphone or gets somewhere to do something. It's evident. He's lost it. He's an 81-year-old man that needs to go sit on the beach. That's what he likes to do. Who they're going to put in his place now, I guess that Kamala is just waking up to the fact that she could be stepping into that position, and the arrogance is starting to show. Whether or not you believe that she could do the job, I think she's done a miserable job as a VP. So I don't see it getting any better if she runs for the presidency. It's still going to be Kamala Harris as you see it now. Around the world, we're investing in wars that will bankrupt this country, especially with the Ukraine situation the way it is and the things that are coming out. And now they're going to hang their hat on the death of this dissident that they claim that now Putin had killed. Based on what evidence? None. Yes, he was a political rival, and there's probably bad blood between them as they go forward, but there's no proof of any of this. And quite frankly, just like the pipeline that blew up, we can point fingers at other people around the world that may benefit from this happening. Just an example here. Well, because of this, we have to refund the Ukraine because this is what's going to take to get rid of Mr. Putin. And this is going to be the cry of the Democratic side of the aisle to get more money to send to Zelensky, who is as unpopular in the Ukraine as Biden is in the U.S. But we continue to want to send more and more money, which just makes a circle back to the war machine of Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and anyone else that's in the armament business that's going to benefit from a war going on somewhere. The worm is turning in Israel about, through our government, noises to back or to try to get NATO to force a ceasefire. A ceasefire, being forced or not, is not a good thing when you have Hamas on the run as they are now. You're just going to give them a reprieve to reboot and just do more atrocities one more time. The Gaza Strip was given to the Palestinians, and they let Hamas run roughshod over the whole area. October 7th should clue you in on who the bad guy is here, and it's really not Israel, in my estimation. So the Israel-Hamas war in the UN to vote on a resolution demanding a immediate ceasefire is what's on the table for today. Nikki Haley is getting ready to probably lose her home state. When she'll realize that she should drop out of this thing is beyond me, but she's being bolstered by the deep state and Soros-backed people and being funded by BlackRock and a couple of other organizations that will, when we decide to rebuild the Ukraine, guess who's going to get those contracts? So she's a bought and paid for candidate in my estimation, and I don't believe that she would be any help at all to any of these causes that are taking place today with regard to straightening out what's wrong in our country as we see it. We, the people, along with the truckers and the bikers and everyone that is realizing today what really is going on in this country with our judicial system, are acting out now to try and make changes. Whether or not the boycott of delivering goods to New York will help the New York situation, I don't know. But you have high schools and grade schools that are being emptied out to house the homeless situation, which they like to say are unhoused. But how many of these are immigrants, actually refugees that we let through the southern border? Well, let me explain to you real quick why this administration has let millions of people illegally enter this country and be distributed around to certain states for certain reasons. And the reasons are very, very simple if you stop and put a little thought to this. They're redistributing people to change the electoral college counts of people. They're using non-citizens in their counts to redistrict voting areas to benefit the Democratic Party. This is so obvious and so in your face that you cannot deny that this is one of the reasons we've let these people in. Their plan is working in their estimation. However, along with the people that they are redistricting voting rights to, using that as part of the population, have also let in terror groups and groups of military-aged Chinese men coming through the border that can do nothing but harm to this country. We need to get the border shut down, and now Joe has realized that he needs to come out and say, well, we'll just reintroduce the Remain in Mexico plan. Well, why did you do away with it originally? You're the one that issued the executive order that doesn't work anymore. So we're stuck. It's almost impossible for anyone to think that they can round up all of these people and send them back to Mexico or the country of origin that they came from, because it's ridiculous what's going on. Alexei Navalny's mother demands Putin return her son's body, which is probably a good thing to maybe do. What they're checking on, I don't know. They came out with sudden death syndrome so far, but I guess they're completing their either autopsy or different checks that they're using for substances and things of that nature. We told you about Kevin O'Leary. He's going to boycott New York. And as he explained, being a huge realtor in New York, they all do the same thing. When they're borrowing money to build a building next to a building that they're going to use as collateral, it happens. But the banks have their own way of making sure that the building stated is worth the build. It is. But when you have a judge that just randomly assigns a dollar amount to a place like Mar-a-Lago at a ridiculously low estimate, what gave him the right to become a real estate appraiser? Based on what? Based on the fact that they needed to get rid of Donald Trump at all costs, and that's what they were charged to do. And this Letitia James should be brought up on charges herself, if you ask me. Speaking of DAs and charges against DAs, let's talk about Fannie. Fannie Willis testified that she paid cash during the trips with her top prosecutor and boyfriend when they visited the winery. Now, if you've ever been to a California winery for tastings or otherwise, you'll know fast that if you're going to sit down and have a champagne brunch and a wine tasting with caviar, you're not getting away for $750. That's an out-and-out impossibility in California today. Just not going to happen. I mean, when you're using caviar that's, hundreds of dollars for an ounce of it, let's stop and think. Let's stop and think of what a bottle of champagne or fine wine costs today. Whether you're at a tasting or not, you're buying something that's worth a whole lot more than $750 the way it was described. So she's been caught red-handed, but again, in a blue state with an agenda, and it's hard to fight that. Hopefully, Donald Trump's attorneys will get this handled. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, yeah. The Independent came out with on President's Day that Trump ranks as the worst president in U.S. history. How they figured that one out, I don't know. But again, that's the Independent for you. So, Russia arrests a U.S. Russian citizen on treason charges. Can't wait to hear the rest of that come out of mainstream media and how bad Russia is. As I said yesterday in yesterday's broadcast, we need to stop this division of not only racial division, but now we're supposed to hate an entire country of people because they don't like Putin or because Zelensky tells us to. This is ridiculous. The hate has to stop. The division in this country that is being forced upon us needs to come to an end, and we need to start acting like the educated, grown-up people that we need to be at this particular time in history. And as I've told you before, this time in history is probably going to be the best time in the next few years because of all that we have sat back and watched happen here in the last 3.5 to almost 4 years of pure, unadulterated stupidity and, diversity-driven cabinet of clowns that are in jobs that they have no business being anywhere near, and we're going to pay the price for that. So just take a look at the cabinet members that we're talking about here. And if you think for a second that Lloyd Austin is an answer to putting an end or stopping any wars that we're gotten ourselves involved in, you're sadly mistaken. These diversity hires have done nothing but lessen our ability to hold a position in the world stage that we once had. Our country is overrun with refugees right now that have no place to live, getting assistance from our social programs that should be given to our own unhoused citizens, along with our unhoused, unfed veterans that are living in tents in the streets in these blue cities, along with these refugees, which is a recipe for civil war if you've ever seen one. It used to be that growing up was a fun thing to do, and my heart goes out to the children of today that are stuck in front of video games, being inundated and indoctrinated by a school system that is broken, based on the fact that all of the studies are coming back now that most of the children in these inner city schools you can't even read at grade level, never mind do math or science or learn a trade. This is a basic problem that needs fixing. And to have a Secretary of Education in there because they look good there and get a lot of money to be there and do nothing is not the answer. Some of these bureaucrats need to be put out in the street and laid off like the companies around this country right now are doing. Look at Walmart. Look at UPS, FedEx. Everyone is laying off and downsizing so they can streamline their business for what's coming at us. They see it, and we need to see it, and we need to contact the people that we've elected to go in and do our business and tell them to stop all the nonsense and the investigations of this one and that one and fix the problems at hand. And do not give another dime of aid into the Ukraine or any place else that is a powder keg right now, and someone needs to start negotiations with Iran to stop backing these rebels that are disrupting the supply chain that's needed to feed Europe and places around the world. I hate to come out and give you news that's negative every day, and if you look behind me, we have positive turned around, but I have to go negative every day because of the mainstream media news that is pushed on us, which are basically lies. Hand it to them on a sheet of paper to read to you on a daily basis. And if you flip between channels of mainstream media, you'll see that they use the exact same words that are on that piece of paper that has been distributed to them. You might as well have a state-run media, which I believe you do. So this platform allows us to come out and disseminate some of this information that you are being fed on a daily basis through legacy media. And the backing of legacy media is who? Just turn on, I don't care if it's Fox, MSNBC, NBC, I don't care, CNN. 90% of the commercials that are run every few seconds on these channels are pharmaceutical companies telling you to go ask your doctor for something. The pharmaceutical companies in this country can advertise on TV to a point where it makes you sick watching the number of drugs that they want to push on the population. No other country allows pharmaceutical companies to advertise on mainstream media or any other media that runs on TV. We do, and they support these news channels so they can get their drugs. What happened to the detail person that used to be hired and schooled in a particular cure or drug to go out and meet with the doctors one-on-one, explain the benefits and the drawbacks of a particular drug? Well, they had to pay a salary to that person and provide a car and transportation and expenses for these pharmaceutical reps to go doctor to doctor. And they decided by buying off the media that they could do away with all those jobs and go directly to you to tell your doctor what you would like to have for your particular ailment. Do you see what's wrong with that picture? We need to get that back in hand, so they don't have to pay a detail person to go to your doctor and explain these things anymore. They'd rather go directly to you. And by the way, along with that, we'll tint the news to whoever we're promoting for you to elect. And this doesn't sit alone with just the pharmaceutical companies. If you think about it, you look at the Bill and Melinda Gates Corporation, and you look at the Clinton there's a lot of charity there. Well, the charity goes to home. The Clinton Foundation has people see these things. It's brought out and it's squelched by mainstream media. You have to go on this platform, Rumble, or somewhere else to get the truth anymore. And then you have to sift through that, because some of those people are bots or put there to give you a counter opinion of actually tell you what you see isn't happening. Don't look over there, look over here, because it's happening here, not there. So we try to come to you and explain what you should be looking at. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but I did the research on most of what went on during this lockdown period, and I watched the transformation of this country go into what I term as laziness. We're going to work from home so we can stay in our pajamas, and we don't want to go back to the office because we don't really like the people we work for. and I'd rather sit home and work from my phone and my computer. And by the way, I can play video games and stay in my pajamas. That's not the way this country is going to survive. We need to get out and go to work and do the things that we need to do to make it right, to fix things that are happening. Now they're backing off on the electric car mandates that he came out with. And I think he's realized now that he needs to get the UAW vote. And I can't see another reason that he's reversing on some of these things other than the fact that his numbers are in the toilet. And he thinks that, it's going to be okay if he just does what he should have done 3 years ago. But anyway, there's the negatives. On a positive note, we're fast approaching spring. Some of the areas are noticing warmer weather than normally this time of year. Right here in Appalachia, we're experiencing 50-degree days and 20s at night, which is okay. We're going to go into March, and we'll see what March will bring us. But I've seen snow in March, and I've seen snow in April. So we don't know. But anyway, I wish that we could get back on track in this country. I wish that we should have some politicians that would actually wise up and do the job that they were, elected and sent to Washington to do, rather than wasting time in hearings about, who flung dung. You watch this stuff on C-SPAN, and you have to wonder. I mean, you have one or two in there that are voices crying in the wilderness, such as Rand Paul. He makes a lot of sense, and he's fed up with it. But we have the Squad and people like that are misconstruing what the real reason they're there for, unless they have ulterior motives. And how they get elected is beyond me. I mean, is everyone out there devoid of common sense in Minnesota? Because they've put forth some people that are, in my mind, dangerous. But anyway, it's a nice day here. I'm going to try to get out and see what's going on up if the dam is reopened. The road going to the dam has been closed down, I think, for paving or whatever reason. But we may go up there in a little while and take a camera and see what's going on up at the lake, and get you some film on that later. Maybe get a short out if anything happens between now and then. But I'm thinking we're going to be okay if we all band together as human beings, love one another, show help to your neighbor, get your mind set that you want to see, and have your politicians understand what you're thinking. You need to contact them and tell them. As well as myself, give me some comments to base your opinions on. I'll be happy to talk about it. It's a great platform for you to say what you really think. And I'm not thin-skinned. Where I grew up in New York City, if you were thin-skinned, you didn't make it. If calling you a name upset you that badly, you weren't going to survive. And yeah, we had a lot of ethnic jokes growing up, and no one was offended by it. They just came back at you with one of your nationality. And no one got into fights over it or anything else. Now we've become so thin-skinned that if someone says the wrong thing, you get triggered. Well, get hold of yourself. Start using common sense that God gave you, and realize that you may be part of the problem, but you can also be part of the answer to the problem, the solution to the problem. And that is basically how you react to other people's opinions. The reaction is what's wrong. And if you don't agree with somebody, that's fine. You have an opinion, but so do they. So let them say what they need to say. And go from there. You know, it's a wonderful world. And we have a lot going on in this world. And we're all part of it. God bless you all. Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us get more content out to you. So right now, I'm out of here. Bye-bye now.